So this film has an epic dance-off scene, and then in another, we have a scene where lions attack people. I'm sold. So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, I do a lot of movie reviews, ranking videos, list videos, 4K reviews, and a lot of other cool things you might find along the way. So in today's movie review, I'll be talking RRR, aka Rise, Roar, Revolt, or as I like to call it, Triple R. So let's get into it. So before I get into the plot synopsis and everything, I do want to give a shout out to Nandit, which is a old friend of mine from East Jackson. He reached out to me like almost a month ago, telling me about this film and, you know, asking me how my YouTube channel is going and everything. And he brought up this film, and I've heard of this film up until that point, but I never checked it out up until then. So, you know, I'm going to tell y'all my experience with this movie really quickly. I did see that it was playing at my movie theater a few months ago, but it was a foreign film, and I don't want to sit there. I don't want to sit for over 3 hours watching a foreign film and reading subtitles, which, given I read subtitles at home, so I don't know why I couldn't have done it in the movie theater. I guess it's just two different environments. You know, I'm more comfortable at home. I'm more in control of everything around me. I'm not in control of the movie theater. If someone starts talking, I'll be distracted by that, so... You know, I knew of this film's existence, and I didn't know what it was about, but I did think about seeing it, but like I said, I didn't want to read subtitles at the movie theaters for 3 hours. So the way I watched this film is, right after he told me about it, it was like 12 in the morning, and so I watched the first half of this film up until the climax of this film, which is like my favorite part of this film, about an hour and 30 in. So I watched it up until then, and then I woke up the next morning and continued watching the film up until the ending. And I think that was the best part for me is, you know, I watched the first half the night before, and then I watched the last half, you know, in the morning. And that really helped and let me soak in what I watched, you know, the night before and then preparing for the second half. So I didn't watch this movie in full, which I do highly recommend this movie. So let's get into why. But before we do that, let's get into a quick plot synopsis. RRR is a tale of two revolutionaries and their journey far away from home. After their journey, they return home to start fighting back against the British Empire in the 1920s. So I do want to say, if you've seen bits and pieces of the action scenes in here, that is a reason to see this movie, but it's not the only reason to see this movie. I am a really big fan of the story and the bromance between our two main leads, which is like the main reason why you should check this out. And the action scenes, because they're really intense and really compelling and really entertaining. Like I said, the story is very compelling and it has you guessing what's going to happen next. You want to see these two stories get resolved because both of our main leads have backstories and it shows us why they are the way that they are. So these two main leads develop a fantastic friendship without knowing who each other is and what motivations they have. One is working for the British Empire because of a promise he made to his people, and the other is on a rescue mission for a little girl that the British Empire stole from his people. And it turns out Bahim is the person that Laurie, or I think that's how you pronounce it, is set out to find and capture for the British Empire. So the stakes get really high, but the tension goes to an all-time high at the climax of this film when they have to confront each other, but that's all I'm going to say on that because that is the best scene in this film. And speaking of the middle of the film, like I said, this is where the film climaxes, and it's my favorite part of this film. But my God, is it glorious. And since we're talking action, whoo! Geez, some of these scenes put the MCU to shame. There, I said it. Standouts include the tiger scene, and then when Alluri goes up against the protesters, also the bridge scene, which is very intense and symbolic. Other highlights include the climax, like I've stated before, and then when Bahim breaks out Alluri, that's just awesome. And then the ending, you guys gotta see it. But since we're on the topic of action scenes, God, it makes you feel as if our main two leads are superheroes because of the stuff that they can do. But I will say there is a lot of practicality in this film. But there's also quite a bit of CGI as well, which some of it does look good. Like a wolf at the beginning looks fantastic. And there's other times where you can definitely tell it's CGI, you know? which is something that you've come to expect with this type of film. You know, not all CGI is going to look fantastic. I do want to address the runtime really quickly. It is a little over 3 hours, and like I said, I watched it in 2 parts, which I think is the ideal way to watch this. But if you want to sit throughout the whole thing, I totally get why, because this is a great and compelling film from start to finish. So if you watch it all in one sitting, that's great. There's also a dance-off scene, well, actually quite a few, but there's one in the middle of the film where it has me tapping my feet, and it just, I don't know, I was watching it and I was just in awe. I was amazed by what I was seeing, if we're being honest here. But as a lot of you may know, I'm not into musicals or dance-off movies, but this is one of the best choreography scenes I've ever seen, you know, in a scene like this, if not the best. And because music is a big part of dancing, let's get into the soundtrack of this film, which some of these tracks I honestly need in my life. Whether if I go on walks or if I go to the gym, some of these tracks are really needed, especially when I put headphones in, because some of these get you really pumped up. So I'm also a really big fan of the soundtrack and the score to this film. And some of these honestly get my juices flowing. Even though I'm a fat guy, some of these make me want to get up and go. But I can't talk about any film without bringing up the negatives, so let's talk about things that I'm not a fan of. Since I watched this on Netflix, there is a Hindu dub of this film, which I don't get why they did that, because Telugu is also a foreign language to me, so there were scenes in here where it just didn't match up with what the characters are saying. And then another thing I want to bring up is, you know, there is quite a bit of English in here. You know, there's some scenes where the characters talk nothing but English, but you can tell that some of these people don't sound the way that they look. And I think, you know, there are some English speakers that did some ADR or just some dubbing over the original actors, and I don't get why they did that. So outside of our main characters, you know, there are some other characters that I'm just not a fan of. A lot of the other people don't tend to bring their A game outside of our main leads, but yeah, there are just some other people in here that just, I don't know, I'm not a fan of their acting, I'm not a fan of their storylines. You know, whenever our main characters are not on screen, I am not invested in it, you know? Because I will say, when others popped up, I was looking at my watch like, okay, let's get to our main leads, But that's pretty much all the negatives that I have with this film. I think this is a really compelling story, and is in my top 5 or top 7 of 2022 so far. I haven't decided yet, because, you know, there's some films that I need to rewatch again, like Top Gun Maverick, or, you know, several others, but this was a really good film, and I'm going to say this is the best bromance that I've seen since The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, which that film was really good as well, but I think this one's quite a bit better. So with that said, I'm going to be giving RRR, aka Rise or Revolt, or as I like to call it, Triple R, an overall grade of an 84%. So let me know in the comments below what you thought about this film, and if you've been putting it on hold, don't, because this film is definitely worth it, and it's on Netflix. So, you know, if you can stand some of the dubbing, I think you guys will get a kick out of this film. So with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.